Oh no, actually, it's here we go.
It's actually
coming down.
It's coming
isn't
down again. Yeah. Typical.
it? Yeah. Well, do you know what? I think the last time I saw you, I think it was in London. I think we bumped into you, didn't I? Do you remember that?
Yes.
I was out for the day with Kelly. This is about 10 years ago.
Oh yeah, I think I can actually. Yeah, I remember. But I think it was a moment where I was like, oh my God, it's you.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't seen you for so long, and I was
Yeah.
like, is that you actually? Yeah. But no, I mean, I don't think we've physically seen. Before that, it was quite a while. I mean, I was thinking, because I stopped competing 2003. So that was probably the last time I saw a lot of competitors.
Yeah.
2003, which is a long time.
It is.
And I haven't actually been back since.
Have you not at all? Not been to a comp or anything?
Nothing. I decided when I finished, because I completely stopped dancing 100%. I was working retail, so I didn't want anything to do with dance stuff. I need a break from the whole thing, from competitions, from practice, getting ready with the tan and everything. I just wanted a break from everything.
Yeah.
So I got heavily into retail management, and I quite enjoyed it. I quite enjoyed having that aspect where I haven't got to think about, okay, I need to leave at 6, I need to get ready for practice, I need to go and do this, I need to go and do that. And it was actually quite refreshing. And then I moved to Brighton with my best mate, and we were like, oh, you know, let's just leave our jobs at Zara and we'll have a great life in Brighton. Well, that wasn't the case. It was,
Really?
you know, yeah, it was like, we need to find a job because how are we going to pay for our rent?
Yeah.
So that was the thing we had to think about doing. So we ended up just getting like part-time jobs. And then I wasn't really missing dancing, but I still had that urge to do something with dancing. And then I literally had a phone call. This was after being about a year in Brighton. This is back, this is 2006. And from one of my old dance partners, you must know Annette Lake.
Yeah, of course I know that. Yeah.
So her parents obviously had a school for years and years, and that's where I started. And Pat Lake called me, her mum, and said that they're doing auditions for Dirty Dancing in the West End, and they're looking for specific ballroom and Latin people. And I was like, oh, do I really want to go in the dancing world? Whether it mean stage or whether it mean ballroom and Latin competitions, do I really want to go? Because it just give me, I don't know, it really turned me right off. I didn't want anything to do with competing. And I thought, do you know what, I'll go. And because I was working in retail at the time, it was in management as well, so it's like, what day can I have off? So I eventually got the day off. I went for an audition. Now, as it was theatre, I didn't have no agent, so I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was like, oh God, you know, they're going to be doing leaps everywhere and jumps across the stage. What am I doing? And I got there, and there was all girls there, and I was a bit like, right, okay, well, at least I have a partner. So the people who were there organising it, they were like, Ian, you know it's a girls' audition today. And I was like, no, I didn't actually know, but you told me to come today because I had to get the day off. And so it's fine, don't worry, you can just join in, whatever, it's fine, you know, we'll just do the audition and then it is what it is. So I was like thinking, oh God, I've got my Latin shoes on, I've got, you know, I just thought, okay, I really feel really uncomfortable at the moment. So I went in there, and then we had, like, you know, the panel. You had Eleanor Bergstein, who was the writer of Dirty Dancing. And then you had, so it was sort of like a bit of, because anyone who's done dancing since an early age or whenever, they know Dirty Dancing. They, you know, it's one of those films you have to watch, you know, and Patrick Swayze being one of my icons. So, you know, you see these people and you're like, oh my God, it's actually them there. And then right, okay, so the first combination we're going to do, and I was like, oh, dear God, what is this going to be? It was like, okay, so we're going to do a couple of time steps, a couple of Cuban breaks. I'm like, hold on, I'm feeling this audition. And then we're going to do a couple of chaîné turns, and then we're going to do this. Okay, great. So I got through a couple of rounds, and then they were like to me, would you consider just dancing with this girl just to show us a bit of your Latin? I was like, okay, yeah, cool.
Was she a Latin dancer?
She was a Latin dancer, which was great. So I danced with her, and then they were like, fantastic. And then they were talking to me, and they sort of got me to the side and said, would you be able to do something on your own? Anything you want to do? And I was like, right, okay, Ian, let's think. What can I do on my own? Okay, I'll do samba. Well, samba's actually probably my least favourite dance in Latin. I don't know why I picked samba. And I thought, well, at least I can show off hips and turn, you know. And I was like, I'll do samba. I said, well, any music you've got. So they put on this samba music, which was like what you'd hear from the old assembly. I was like, oh my God, I'm in my element, fantastic.
Yeah.
So they put it on. I was like doing bachacadas everywhere. I was literally like, you know, stationary samba walks, all the things, you know, everything about samba, turns, everything. They were like, oh my God, amazing, amazing, amazing. Anyway, so I left the audition room and they took my picture, because obviously at that time I never had an agent. I didn't, you know, I didn't understand that world. So they were like, right, we'll get back to you. It was a great audition. Then about a week later, I got a call saying, right, we'd like you to come back for the couples audition. And I was thinking, okay, so this is probably where the Dirty Dancing's going to come in, the lifts. And I think at that time, you know, 2006, sort of free, like the couples dancing where you can do like a freelance, where you literally can do lifts and everything like that. Exhibition was not really massive, so I didn't really learn about lifts at that point. Upper body strength and everything. So I was like, oh, okay, let's go.
Because you were quite lean. I always remember you being quite lean. I was very thin. Yeah. And I literally just from the age of like about 12, I was actually quite short, and then literally all of a sudden I just shot up. Yeah. And then yeah, I was all arms and legs at one point, which wasn't great for Latin. So I got to the audition. There was a lot, you know, a lot of these people knew everyone there because it was like a West End audition. Yeah. So I sort of like started to sort of see people around. Oh, I think I recognise them, and got to the thing. Anyway, they brought us all in, and they lined us up from the smallest to the tallest. So I was one of the tallest ones there. And then obviously the girl in front was obviously the one who I would dance with. However, what they did is they were like sort of like going along there, go, okay, you with you, you with you, you with you, and they weren't saying no names. I was like, oh, okay. When they got to me, they went, so Ian, you'll be with her. And I went, they know my name. That's a good sign. Yeah. So I was like, okay, this is good. But I didn't feel at the time, I didn't feel that confident still, because because you're unaware of that world. You don't really know what's going on. Obviously, there was lots of other guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, yeah. So they lined all the boys and all the girls up. Yeah. And then they started doing a combination of dips and a couple of lifts and a couple of pas de deux stuff, which was good. And then they switched partners again, and then we sort of like had to watch the other groups go, and then it was ages and ages and ages. Now bear in mind, and you know this, I wasn't theatre trained, so I didn't have any experience in vocal training. I didn't have any experience in ballet. I'd had the odd ballet class, and I loved it, but I wasn't experienced in it. So they said, okay, Ian, they really love you, but they really want to hear you sing. Right. I was like, sorry, can you just repeat that? They went, yeah. I said, well, I was told that I didn't need to sing because I'm not from the background. They wanted more Latin. They said, no, we know, but they just want to see how you are. I was like, oh no. I mean, okay, come on, my inner Mariah, come on. Let's come on, Mariah, help me out here. I've been listening to you for ages. Help me out. Yeah. So I had to go away and get like some sheet music and think, okay, let's think of something 60s. So I eventually ended up picking Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow, which I love that song. Yeah. It's not too high, but at the same time I can sort of like understand the melody. So I came back, and I was James, I was so nervous. Yeah. Like you would.
So they sent you away. This was another day you came back.
Yeah, I came back another day. Yeah. So I think I stayed over in London that day. And they said, come back tomorrow and you know, pick a song. Let us know what song you're doing, and then the MD can put it to the piano. Yeah. And get going. So I came back, and then they were like, okay, so do you want to come in? So again, there was a panel, and I was like, oh my God, you know. So I was standing there. He started playing. And then I went, shit, when do I come in? So I said to him, sorry, can you tell me when to come in? And I was like, oh no, how can I say to the MD, can you tell me when to come in? Yeah. So I came in, I started singing. I can hold a tune, but I'm not trained in any shape or form. So I'm a bit useless when it comes to that. I've got quite a good ear for timing, as we all have, but in terms of actual singing and vocals, I'm not great. So that actually sounded quite like my own voice. So I sang, I sung, and then like, okay, thank you so much. And then I went away, and then I was waiting and waiting. And I said, oh, okay, so they really, really like you. Would you? Here's a script. I went, sorry, script. For what? They said they want you to sort of like learn the Robbie role. I was like, Robbie? What? Okay. So again, no background in acting. So I thought, okay. As ballroom and Latin dancers, we express our dancing, but when it comes to speaking and learning, you know, learning script, it's you know, it's very, very weird for us to think about.
Because we speak with our bodies, don't we?
Absolutely.
And obviously actors tend to speak with their mouths.
Yeah, exactly.
So we express ourselves in a physical way.
Absolutely.
But I'm sure there must be a way of translating that, which I'm sure you're going to tell me.
Well, I did, and I sort of actually had quite a good time actually learning the lyrics, and I was very focused on it, and I had to go all very preppy and with the jumpers and stuff, and I felt quite nervous, but at the same time it was actually, and it was in front of Eleanor again, because you know, and I stumbled a couple of times, but I actually really enjoyed it. Now it was for a cover of Johnny because they already had Robbie, but because they already had someone coming from Australia, because they'd already had the production in Australia,
right?
And he was coming over. To cut a long story short, I didn't get the Robbie part in terms of like a cover. But it was a great experience, and I really understood what it took. Do you know what I mean? Because you obviously learn another trade, and it's that thing where you're like, okay, let's learn this. And I always like to learn from other people and really understand what their craft is, and you know, it's really great in the future.
Yeah.
And then it's like the waiting game. You know, as you know, it's like when you're waiting for your results at Blackpool or anything, you know, the waiting, oh God, here comes, you know, am I getting through the next round? You know, your stomach churns, oh, am I going to get through to this next round? But I sort of felt a bit of relief off because I hadn't come from that world, so I didn't know what to, so I had nothing to lose really. And I was actually proud of myself for getting that far. And then I think I waited about 2 or 3 weeks, and then they called me, the casting director called me back and said, we're happy to tell you that you've got the part as a featured ensemble, and also would like you to be a dance captain for the Ballroom and Latin. And I was like, oh my God, like, you know, it was like, wow. Yeah. Like, you know, from a guy who hadn't trained, and you know, something for the first time I'd actually be judged just purely on my talent, without someone knowing who I was in competitive world. We're going, yeah, no, I don't think I'm going to put you through to the next round. Where someone just saw my talent in dance terms and was like, right, I like what he has, I like what he has to offer. And that probably, for me, James, is probably one of the most important achievements in my life, because it didn't depend on someone already knowing my past experience in terms of what I could do. But
and there was no politics involved in that in the slightest. We know obviously there's politics involved in the theatre world as well anyway.
Of course there is.
You went in completely green and they had no idea who you were, but it must have been very empowering for you to know that you've been chosen purely because you were a great dancer, a great performer, and not because you went and spent £1,000 on lessons on
exactly. And I think I never ever want to lose that love I have for Ballroom and Latin. I love Ballroom and Latin, and it will always be, you know, the first love of mine in terms of dance. However, I have learned that since going into the West End and since doing other projects, which we'll talk about later, is that there is so much more to dance. There's so much more to show. There's more to give out to audiences, especially in theatre. Whereas when you're in competitive world, even though at a young age I absolutely couldn't get enough of it, I understood what it was to perform in front of an audience in a theatre rather than performing at the Winter Gardens or the Albert Hall. There's a difference.
It's a very different dynamic.
Absolutely. And you know, the feeling I got when I was in juvenile, junior and youth, when you danced at the Winter Garden, I mean, you can't express that feeling. Everyone has a different feeling about how you feel about it, and for me it's just this empower. You just feel invincible because it's so grand, and it's the pinnacle of where anyone wants to dance, and it's that feeling you had is the same feeling I had, but I think even more because I'm actually getting paid to actually perform in front of an audience who getting a standing ovation every single night. I mean, I think I was lucky in the terms of being in the original cast, because I think the 3 years I was in the show from the beginning, I think every night was a full house. And now I think in the West End that's quite rare.
What theatre were you in?
Aldwych.
Aldwych.
The Aldwych. I think it holds about 1,200.
Right.
Maybe a little bit less, I'm not sure. But I think also the experience of having that theatre and to stand on that stage, because I'd never had that with Ballroom and Latin. I'd only been on the big stage in Winter Gardens, but being on a stage is completely different. And we were told in Dirty Dancing, you're to perform in your own world. You're not to perform out. Where in Ballroom and Latin, there is you perform to that audience, and obviously you connect with your partner, but you also perform out. And then this was about, this is your world here. You invite them into your world.
Right. Okay.
So it was quite different, and I think it was very. They liked it very sort of like. The choreography we did a lot of because it was quite experimental in Dirty Dancing, especially the Ballroom and Latin was all choreographed, and but the
who did the choreography for that? Did you have any involvement in any of that at all?
Very tiny towards the beginning. I'll think of the guy's name in a second.
Not Paul Harris.
No, it wasn't Paul Harris. I will think of him in a second.
Okay.
Wilson. It was Paul Wilson's brother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mark Wilson. Not Mark Wilson.
No.
Australian
I think it was
guy.
Paul Wilson. Yes, it was Paul Wilson who did it. So, yeah, he was the choreographer for the Ballroom and Latin, and he was amazing to work with. And obviously, when you go into a West End production, it's not really Ballroom and Latin. Most of them are jazz, you know. It's all about the, you know, the Broadway sense, the ballet, contemporary. It's all about that. It's not really about Ballroom and Latin. So when we started the auditions, I was a bit apprehensive of what else we were going to be doing. It can't just be Ballroom and Latin. And I think I was pleasantly surprised, because the majority of when we started, I'd say about 65% was Ballroom and Latin. Right. And then the other was the Dirty Dancing bit, which was incredible to like learn. But yeah, it was just an incredible experience from learning and meeting different people and experiencing that side of performing. Yeah, for me was something special. And I think I'm so grateful I got the opportunity, and I feel lucky I got the opportunity, and I just saw it as an opportunity. I was like, oh, I don't, you know, at the time I was living in Brighton, oh, I don't know what I want to do. I'm here doing retail. Do I want to continue? Do I want to continue dancing? Do I not? And I just was like, to the day before I wasn't going to go, and then I thought, no, I'm going to go, that's it. And yeah, and it just happened. And I think, yeah, I was lucky that I turned up on a day where there was loads of girls. However, at least I was noticed. Yeah, there is that. So, you know, you can see it both ways, really. But no, I adored it. I loved being in that show, and it was an incredible achievement for me.
So what was it that turned you off Ballroom and Latin in the first place then? So why was it you felt you needed a break from it, or what was it that ultimately? I mean, I think I'd probably know the answer, but
yeah, I think most people would know that answer. I mean, if they didn't know the answer, they'd probably be lying to themselves. I think, although I loved Ballroom and Latin as dancing, as the aspect of dancing, I got really frustrated, and I sort of half blame myself as well. For me, and this is not me being, oh my God, you're big-headed, but I think I was more talented than a lot of the people who used to get further. However, for me, my thing was, I didn't train as much, and I don't think I wanted it as much as other people. And for me, I admired that in people. Now, when I was dancing, for instance, with Amy Bennett, I think that was where...
Was she your last partner?
No, my last ever partner was Gemma Gerlin, who's like my sister now, who I've kept in touch with her and her family. We're like brother and sister. Fight like cat and dog, but we love each other to pieces. But with Amy Bennett, she'd just turned 16 and I was 20, and I was then coming out of youth. And it was a big step for her, because she'd just turned 16, and she'd just came 6 in at the time when I was still competing. It was the British National. I don't know what it's called.
British. It's still British National.
Okay, perfect. Or the Closed British, one of the two, in November. And she just came 6 in the junior. Right. And I was with...
You were with Annette?
I was with Annette at the time.
You were in the final with me?
Yes, you're right. In the youth?
Yeah.
You were with Coralie?
No, I was with... I was either with Jennifer Hurley or Amy Pedder. I won the ballroom with Amy. Maybe that was your. Are you 77? Born in 77.
I was born 78.
Oh, I was born in 78. So obviously, yeah. But Annette was older, wasn't she?
Yes, Annette was 1 year older than me.
That's right. So I think maybe then.
You were the year up. Did you?
Well, I won it in 98.
I
was 20 in 98.
Okay, because I came out of youth that year, because I danced. Oh my God, that year was a complete blur to me, because I was with Kate Pothecary.
Yep.
And then I split with her. We'll go back to the Amy Bennett story in a second. I keep rambling. I was with Kate Pothecary, and then I split with her, and I went with a girl from Switzerland called Fabian.
I remember her. Yeah, because she didn't she date one of the Swiss national football team players?
Oh God, I didn't know
Carlos
that.
Vélez? Not Carlos Vélez. I remember, yeah, she did.
Yes,
I'm into football.
Beautiful girl.
Quite
beautiful,
short,
yeah,
dark
beautiful
hair.
girl. She was a model. And at the time I was like, oh my God, amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
I actually never, I did compete with her actually. And actually I think probably I had an amazing result. The first comp we did was one of the leading competitions to the Open British.
Imperial or something.
The Imperial, I think it was Earls Court, I can't remember what the
okay, that was the what was that called? Was it called it wasn't called the English, was it? I think it might be the English Championships.
Maybe the English Championships, yeah. And we got in the final of the Amateur Latin. And I was like, oh my God, like this is great. And there was a lot of people who were thinking, oh, they're going to be in the final. And from my track record of results, I would not have been in that Latin final, for sure. So that for me was great. Then we started having loads of arguments. I was literally working 9 in the morning till 6 at night, then go into practice, and it wasn't good. People can say, oh, you're moaning about practicing, but I don't think people understood. Most of the British people weren't sponsored, or hardly any were sponsored. So we had to make our living and then go to practice.
As well. I worked all day every day, went straight from work to practice every night.
And it's not something I go, oh my God, I'm so hard done by. It's not that fact, it's just a fact that what we had to do to get where we wanted to get. And although I loved it, I just sort of like took it, oh my God, I'm just tired, tired. Anyway, so we split up just before we were going to do Blackpool. And I remember there was quite a controversy actually, because I was living at the time with her, and I was living with Elizabeth. And she had just split with
Stephen Sison.
No, she had just split with James Jordan.
That's right.
And he was dancing with Melia, and she was going to dance with Stephen. So there was going to be James and Melia, there was going to be myself and Fabian, and there was going to be Stephen and Elizabeth. Now, all three of us were probably going to make that final of the Open British, the under 20. That was what they have all the predictions. That was the prediction. They thought they were going to be the 3 British people who were going to be in the final. So we'd split before, and then as I'd split, I don't know whether I would split, but we were all living together, and Stephen couldn't make practice one night at Cheam.
I remember this.
Fabian didn't want to practice that night, so Elizabeth goes to me, and I was like, should we just go and practice? Why not? Let's go and practice. I mean, that opened up
I remember
so many cans of worms, like, oh, what are those two dancing together? Well, we just want to actually practice. So our partners don't want to practice tonight, so we're actually practicing. Shoot us down if you want to do, but this is what we're going to do. And it was this. That ended up them eventually splitting. Me and Fabian split up for other reasons, and that was a very controlling environment. I really got low. That was one of the points where I think I probably got the lowest in all of my times in dance actually. And I had to move back home because it was just an awful time. So yeah, and I think that I think initially put me off the first step of my I'm not really liking this environment. But anyway, then I think I danced with, God, I sound like a complete partner swapper. It's weird, isn't it? I mean, everyone sort of like swap partners. Then I think I danced with Amy in '99, and she was 16, I was 20, and I would have been going up to youth, so we couldn't have danced youth at the British because I was 21 in the April. So we danced together. We started doing like the IADA comps. we were sort of getting in the semi-finals of the amateur 24s. You know, we were doing reasonably okay, youth okay. And then I think we had sort of a breakthrough. We done a really small comp, a couple of small comps before the closed British. There was one at Margate.
Oh, right.
And it was
don't
a really
get comps
small.
in Margate
Yeah,
anymore.
I know you don't. I know. Lovely seaside town, if I say so myself.
Yeah.
And we did that competition because we wanted like a small lead up. We just wanted a real good practice, and you know, 5 dancers straight off. We knew there might not be a lot of people there, but it would be a good run out to do a couple of 5 dancers straight off. You know, keep the energy levels up. So we did that and we won. There was a couple, I can't remember who was second, but it was, you know, they were, I think they were sort, may have been like 48-24 in the amateur of closed British. So we did that and we were like, okay, let's see how we get on at the closed British, because we obviously didn't do the youth. And it was the year that Lisa and Paul didn't dance because they were dancing the Worlds. It was on the Worlds time. So they, fortunately for us, weren't dancing. So there was a sort of a gap for myself, for Nicholas and Gemma, for Vincent and Flavia, and another couple, Sammy, I can't remember.
Ventura, Debbie.
Yes. So those two. So there was about 4 or 5 people fighting for that 6th place, for 5th and 6th place. So we would sort of, you know, did the semi and we felt really good. I don't know what it was, but we felt really good about it. And then we got in, and also Nicholas and Gemma got in, and I think that was when I think I most enjoyed dancing. I think, and it's not because we got a really good result. We came 6th and Nicholas and Gemma came 5th, and you know, there was a lot of people who really noticed us. I mean, to be honest, James, me and Amy were practicing on a Wednesday night and a Friday night at the Lake School in Ipswich, and then having maybe 2 lessons every other week.
Wow.
So if we could have done that and get in the closed British final with having no judges on the floor, that proves to me that we had a talent which could not be not noticed on that particular day. And I do believe that we split up that year because she was going out of Bruce at the time, and it's brother. So and we split up. There was a lot of bickering, which we both said at the time it was just stupid. And she actually said to me later on, when we met up later on years ago, and she actually went into Dirty Dancing after me.
Oh, did she?
Yeah. She said, she goes, the biggest regret is when I split with you is because I sort of like led with what I thought my head wanted rather than my heart. So I think that was one of the things where I missed about dancing. And I adored dancing with Gemma, but for me, I knew sort of like after that, it was a time where I wasn't really happy, not with dancing with Gemma, but the whole industry. And I was a bit tired of constantly working and going, oh, well, I know what's going to happen. Do you go into a competition and going, well, I know what the 6 is going to be, I know what the 12 is going to be. So
do you think that came about because of you didn't have any significant financial backing? So do you think if you'd had a load of money to go and spend on the lessons, which I call advertising actually, because often you don't learn anything, you're just going to advertise.
Well, yeah, I mean,
people know who you are, know how good you are.
Of course it is.
Do you think if you had a lot more money and a little bit more backing, you might have been a little bit more?
Of course, and I think that would probably give you more drive to do something, and I don't think I had that drive, and I'm not blaming anyone for that drive, I'm blaming myself for that drive. But what I do blame the industry for is them taking money from people who aren't as talented and marking them above people who are talented. Now, people have their prerogative of who they want to mark, but when you watch it, you can see it's not right. Now, I haven't, as I said before, I haven't been at a competition since 2003, which was my last Open British, in May of 2003. I think 2003, I think it was. I have no passion in actually going back to watch a competition. Really? Now, that's first half of me. It's quite sad that I don't want to go back, but the other half of me is a bit like, I'm grateful for what it's given me. However, I've learned another side of the tool of dancing. I've learned another side of the creativity side of it. I've learned about what I need to know in the future. There is politics in the theatre world, of course there is. There's politics and everything. No, I don't think I'd ever want to go back. I often see people who are in the competitive industry, but I don't miss it.
Right.
I don't miss seeing people talking small talk and going, oh my God, how's your life? Oh yeah, brilliant, thank you very much, bye.
Yeah.
And then they're going, oh well, that was great. You know, I don't particularly.
It's very false.
Yeah,
it's
I don't
false.
particularly. Listen, a lot of things are false in life, but I don't enjoy. I'd rather not waste my time and waste their time in thinking that I'm going to be false. Because if I go to a competition to watch, it will be me being false, going, oh my God, I'm here, I really want to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I appreciate what talent is out there, and I think it's incredible, but I don't appreciate what has happened to the art of dance.
You nearly said sport then, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, it's not a sport, is it?
It did, no, and I don't think it is a sport. It's something which is an art form, and you know, because we could call contemporary dance a sport. It's an incredible art form, but it's not a sport. Everyone, I see the training aspect of it, how we all train, and you know, they say, well, why would you call ice skating a sport? It is the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
I just think there's something, I don't know what it is, there's something different about ice skating.
I don't think it's a sport either, though, to be honest. I don't think it is. But the only thing that's different about that, of course, is that they do it on their own.
Well, they do,
and
yeah.
You can have it judged under criteria.
Yeah,
because they're on their own.
Technically, yeah, and they have technical marks, and they have.
We don't have that, do we?
No, we
We've
don't.
historically always danced against someone and been comparative.
Yeah, well, exactly, and I think, you know, how the judges who judge, you know, they have to mark people on, you know, they're there to judge because they have qualified and they've had the right to judge. However, how are you telling me that they have time to see whether they've had their foot slightly turned out or whether they're doing the right connection of how have they got that? How can you judge that? You can't judge that on an early round.
Which is why people have lessons so that they know how good they are.
Well, exactly.
And that's advertising, really.
Well, exactly.
Because you're not learning anything from these people. You're just showing them how good you are. And that's something I learned after I retired. I was stupid because I genuinely went to learn off people, and I shouldn't have done. Too many of my lessons were spent with me trying to learn from them, and actually I should have just been showing them how good I was. And something else I learned off another Australian couple actually was that he was very shrewd and wasn't the most talented necessarily, but bloody hard worker, and was just really clued up. He said that he'd go in for lessons and he'd show them his best bit of choreography and say to them, oh, I'm having real trouble with this. I'm doing it, I can't really do this right. It keeps going wrong. And he'd show it to them and they'd go, in their head they're thinking, well, this is really good. There's nothing wrong with this. Yeah. But they're thinking in their head, oh, this is their worst bit. And they'd only spend 45 minutes with them. They'd only book 45-minute lessons, never hour and a halfs. Well, so there's not enough time.
Well, it's not hour lessons anymore, is it?
No, it's all 45 minutes.
45 minutes, yes.
So there's not enough time to get involved with something. So you can't get deep into something. So you have a bit of a waffle at the beginning, a bit of a waffle at the end. This is my worst bit of choreography. It's actually their best. So it's planted this seed. So then whenever you go to a comp, you're being judged by this person, they then think, oh, they were pretty good. That was pretty good. So there's no time, you see. There's no time to assess it.
But let me ask you actually a question regarding teaching, because you obviously teach a lot.
Yeah.
Me personally, I don't like teaching.
Really?
No, I don't. I find it. I like teaching workshops. I like teaching the odd classes. Yeah. But for me, the whole experience of teaching constantly, I think it just sort of goes over my head, and that's not good for me, and it's not good for the person I'm teaching, because I sort of got lost. But let me ask you a question. When you're actually teaching, from when we were having lessons, is there the same level of respect, how I feel as though we were to our peers, than they are now?
I don't think so. Okay. No, I don't think so.
Why?
Not from my respect, anyway. I feel that the people should respect me for what I can, give them, and it's not.
Well, that's why they come to you. Because they give
instantly.
You something.
They shouldn't instantly respect me because of what I might have done. Most of them don't even know what I've done.
Right.
Actually.
Okay.
So, and the respect, it's a mutual respect, isn't it? Because I respect them for coming and wanting to learn from me, and in time, I'd like to think they had a level of respect for what I can teach them and who I am as a person, really, rather than what I know in terms of knowledge.
It's weird because I remember going to lessons in London, and I don't know why I used to get really nervous.
Right.
I don't know whether it's exciting nerves. Sometimes it was horrible. I was thinking, oh God, what are they going to say today?
Yeah.
But once I was in the lesson, I was really relaxed and I enjoyed the information I got. But I always gave that teacher 100% of my commitment and also 100% respect.
Yep.
And they did to me we'll go on to that in a second.
Okay.
But I don't know, I just felt as though when I was having a ballroom lesson, I had the shirt and the tie and the, the trousers, there was that, you didn't have to think about I have to wear it, oh God, I've got to wear a shirt. You just knew you had to wear one. I mean, I remember I turned up once to a lesson with, was it with Adele? And I think I turned it, at the Grafton, which is really just
it's past it,
is it still there?
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay.
We should do a drive-by, actually.
Used to fight past the weeds to get in there.
Yeah, I know.
It was like, where am I going?
Awful,
yeah, horrendous. But I still loved going because it was like, oh my God, this is like.
Well, historically, it was a very, very famous dance studio of our business.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I remember I made a huge mistake. I wore shorts one day to a ballroom lesson.
To a lesson you wore shorts?
To a lesson, because it was really, really hot. Now I should have learned so much better. And I was still in youth, I think.
Yeah.
And they came over politely and said, put your trousers on, please.
Yeah.
And I went, yes, okay, I will. And then sort of like hurried to the toilets in utter embarrassment that I'd even thought that I could possibly get away with wearing shorts.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever wear shorts. I did used to wear shorts at practice at Cheam when it was really hot.
Yeah, I think a lot of people
with a shirt and tie.
No, I never did that.
I used to do it on purpose.
I never did that.
I used to provoke people. That was I did that on purpose, just to
see what they would say.
Yeah, push them a little bit to see, and they'd talk about it, wouldn't they?
Well, of course they would. Yeah, and there's something else for them to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just think this is so weird because I used to live here in Forest Hill.
Oh, it is Forest Hill.
Forest Hill,
I thought I was in Streatham for a second.
Yeah, a lot of dance live here actually, but yeah, it's quite weird. But yeah, I think I don't know what the industry's like now, and you can tell me a bit more about it. But I don't, and it's quite sad, but I don't really have any desire to go back into that industry. Although I still work in that industry and I still have a lot to do with it. I have other projects what don't involve ballroom and Latin, but I just don't have any desire, and that's
Yeah, the old guard, let's call it, still have those rules, I suppose, and there is a level of respect. So if you go into the new Starlight, it's not Starlight anymore in Streatham, it's gone now. You'd still expect to be wearing a tie for your ballroom lesson, that sort of thing. If you go for a Latin lesson, you're going to wear your proper trousers and things. No one wears jeans or anything like that. The younger generation of teachers, I'm not so bothered about that. I just need you to be wearing stuff that means you can move. I mean, you don't want to wear jeans to a lesson. That's ridiculous. But you do need to wear proper trousers. But I'm not bothered about ties or anything like that. And I like to try and be a little bit more down to earth with people rather than trying to be a little bit standoffish.
Tell them you have to wear.
But just being standoffish. I mean, some of these teachers, it's more ego about them really than it is about actually teaching people to dance. It's like I'm 20 times world champion. You're going to listen to what I say, and you're not going to do as you're told. I prefer more of a dialogue and an open dialogue and a discussion about things. There are certain things, of course, that you just got to tell people. No, you got to do this, you got to do that. But I like to make it a little bit more of a two-way street because ultimately they're paying the money.
Well, of course, and that is when you give that respect, then they'll give you back the respect, and they don't mind giving over the money, because there's been plenty of times actually when I lie, I wouldn't say plenty of times, but there's been times where I've handed over money, or my parents' money have handed over, where I've literally said, first of all, I've learned nothing, and second of all, you have been actually looking at yourself in the mirror for the best part of our lesson to see whether your waistcoat looked good or not in the mirror.
I wonder who that was.
I wonder who that was. No names given. The same people.
Was that in their house?
Yes, it was. Yeah. So listen, we all know, we all know different people of different generations.
That's so disrespectful, isn't it?
Well,
because that would tell me they're not actually interested.
Well, no, of course they're not interested. They just because of where we were in terms of status, in terms of where we were in the rankings, they didn't really care. Well, I don't think they cared anyway.
I had one lesson there once, and I never went back.
Yeah, I just think it was a bit.
They seemed bored. They seemed bored, and they didn't feel that they were necessary. Yeah, that's what I felt. They just felt bored.
Yeah, I think it was the boredom, but I also think it was just like, oh, okay, well, I am getting some money today, so I just thought I'll just look at myself in the mirror and see how good I look, because then it'll make me feel better for myself.
Yeah.
Do you want a mint, James?
Go on then. I'll have a mint.
These
a lot
are
of these
addictive to me because these were my dad's favourites. He still has these,
yeah.
But I've just literally got the bug of eating these. So
have you inherited his trait of eating three more extra mints?
I have.
Yeah.
So I'm a tree ball guy.
How is your dad?
He's very well, thank you. They're very well, and they pass on their best wishes to you and your family. So
thank you. Yeah. My dad and your dad used to get up to a bit of mischief at comms.
Oh, they did. Yes, they did. Absolutely.
Yeah. So part of me, actually, you might feel this as well. We're coming off track a little bit, but my parents lost something in their life when I stopped competing, and they suddenly they had a massive hole in their life because they used to go to all the comps, used to watch all the time.
Well, it's part of their life, isn't it?
And same, I'm sure, with your mum and dad. I didn't see your mum quite as much as I saw your dad.
No.
Your dad came to more comps, but suddenly my dad had this social aspect of his life gone suddenly.
Well, I think it is, and I think that's a good point, because I think I remember my dad when I eventually stopped dancing and I made the decision, and also made the decision because I knew what it was to pay for dancing. I knew how much it affected the way I lived my life, because if I wasn't doing anything, I wasn't getting the results I wanted in dancing, I wasn't doing anything, I'm giving out this money for what? I want to move forward in life. I don't want to be stuck on something. So I remember my mum and dad being very respectful, of course, that I wanted to stop competing. But I remember my mum saying, she goes, "Oh, your dad's quite heartbroken."
Really?
Yeah, and I think obviously, as you said, rightly said, my dad was at a lot of my competitions. My mum was working most weekends.
Right.
She worked within a hotel, so most of the time you're there on the weekends. So, and she could come to some of the comps, the big comps, when we were away. But also I had a brother as well, so it wasn't fair that all of them were always, with me. So yeah, I think they were quite upset, and my dad, I think, especially, but I think they understood why. And I think my dad was very passionate, as all our parents were very passionate, because they were paying money.
Yeah, they were.
They were paying money, and they were taking us around the country, and
and like my parents weren't professionals.
Well, exactly.
Because how many pros kids do we dance against? Loads.
Oh, well, loads. I mean, my dad thought he was a professional, but
well, they all have their opinion, don't they?
Yeah, of course, and they have their opinion, and sometimes you're like, oh my god, But I remember my dad's trait was just I don't know how to describe it. Literally, every time there was a recall about to happen, my dad had gone.
Right.
He was nowhere to be seen. You could not find him. And the reason you couldn't find him is because he was so anxious whether we were going to get through or not. He didn't want to be around people to find out if we didn't.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
So I remember one day, it was at Blackpool, and it was when I was with Amy, and it was waiting for the final.
Yep.
And we were obviously downstairs, and everyone else, and my dad had just vanished off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
I was like, where the hell has Norman gone? Where's he gone? Where's he gone? And then all of a sudden, as soon as we got through, he was roaring, he was up on that balcony. But I think it's that anticipation. Oh, there's the Rivoli. It was that, hey Rivoli.
That's still, that's used a lot, isn't it? But not for any competitions or anything.
Music videos and stuff.
Place.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, and I think it was a part of him, like it was with your parents. It was a part of them, and it was a part of my mum, and
Well, they were faces, weren't they? They were kind of mini celebrities.
Yes, of
Everyone
course.
knew them because they put themselves about.
Exactly.
Didn't they? Your dad, my dad, and Gemma's dad as well.
Yeah, Roger.
Roger.
Oh, God, and at Blackpool, the Feathers Hotel. I mean, that was another story. But but those for me are the memories I loved, because it not only had still has a special place in my heart, it actually grounded me as a person, because you were sort of like told right from wrong, and you shouldn't do this and you should do this, and it was a bit more stricter, not in a bad way but in a good way, to discipline us, to, you know, for future.
It's not like that anymore.
No, it's not.
It's all gone.
Unfortunately, it's not.
It's all gone.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, so I don't know what it's like. What is it like in terms of, because you do a lot of the the pro-am?
Oh yeah, I do pro-am. Yeah, I do a lot of pro-am.
So how is that, how do you feel is in that, because the thought of me competing in a pro-am scares the living daylights out of me.
Really?
Because I would not want to go back on that floor and be judged by those same people. I don't know, it sounds really like, oh my god,
you know
so
what?
Stupid, but I just wouldn't.
Well, I can understand what you're saying to a certain degree, but trust me, they're standing around the floor all day, getting paid 150 quid, depends on the comp really, whatever it is, and I'm not. I'm actually doing a job and getting paid very well. You're getting paid. And I'm not being judged at all.
The reverse.
Yeah, I'm not being judged at all. It's a great time for me, and I'm there showing off my students, and they're having a lovely time. I personally, I find the pro-am scene a wonderful scene, because, for instance, my main student's 86.
Oh wow!
And so she danced when she was young. She lived in London, and she danced when she was young. Up at the, she did all the stuff when she was young in all of the famous ballroom. Danced at the Hammersmith Palais. Wow. She danced at Blackpool when she was young, and then she had a big break while she did her career. She was a nurse in London. Yeah. And then came back to it in her 60s, and so we've been dancing together for about 10 years. And so she's rekindling something that she had as when she was young, and kind of completing her dancing journey, let's say. And it's wonderful for her. She's become quite famous. Okay, there go.
What is it in London? You try to let them out and they're trying to get out, and then they don't want to come out.
It's like bizarre, isn't it?
What's going on?
Weird, yeah. So it's wonderful, and she's like an inspiration for everyone, because she's so old. She's almost always the oldest person whenever we're out there dancing. Oh my God. But I see it as a lovely scene. It's a lovely opportunity for people to get out and do things that they didn't have the opportunity to do, or to finish off what they started when they were young.
But is it still political?
I don't see the pro-am scene as political at all.
Okay.
There's obviously, if you dance with certain people.
Yeah.
So, sorry, if a student dances with a certain person, that person could be more political than another. So I am not political, and I never have been. Yeah. But everyone knows who I am, and I reached a pretty good standard. So here, you know, Hillary
so people would know who you are anyway.
So it helps them in their terms of their results. And some people dance with like one of my teachers actually doing pro-am with some of my students. They're not going to know who he is at all. You might know him, Trevor Johnson. Do you remember Trevor Johnson?
I have heard of. Yes, I do know Trevor Johnson.
He used to compete, obviously with us as well. So people don't know who he is because he stopped dancing when he was 18. But he's come back to it now. So in that respect, they don't know who he is. So he would need to work the room, let's say, a bit more, or go and take some of his students for some lessons. But no, it doesn't really work the same way as it does with the amateur and the pro stuff. Not at all. But I find it lovely, and you know, we get to travel all over the place, go all over the world.
But that's the main thing, though. But that's the main thing, though, for you, and I think for people who do enjoy it, is if you enjoy it, that means everything. Because if you don't, and how I didn't enjoy it when I was competing, it means nothing. And I wanted to stop before I hated it. And that is what I sort of wanted to do. And I think the same with Dirty Dancing. I wanted to finish that after 3 years, and I wanted to do a couple of years because I'd never done a West End show before. And I think I did 3 years, and then I was asked to come back, and because I'd done that role for 3 years, there was no space for me to go higher in terms of being an associate choreographer, because there was no space for that. So I decided to leave, but I left because I'd had, God, this sounds really like a pun, the time of my life. But
well,
God, I had to get it in. I had to get that in. But I didn't leave hating it. I left on a high, and I left loving that. Oh my God, I mean, that show, the feeling of waiting backstage and you hearing that dum 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 dum, the crowd going just berserk. And then I was one of the first people they had this like revolve what went round at the beginning. The feeling was was just something I just can't explain.
Disappointed I never went to see it, actually.
Yeah. What do you mean you didn't see it? Jesus, what?
Well, I didn't go to see it. I can't believe it.
Yeah, it's just one of them moments where you're like,
Do you know, if there'd been social media back then, I'm sure I would have done.
well, this is another thing.
Because I've realised, oh, my mate Ian's in, I'm going to go see that. But
yeah,
you don't find out about things. Because also, I was so deeply, heavily engrossed in dance back then, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, I wasn't. Actually, I stopped in 2004. I turned pro in 2004 and disappeared for 2 years myself. But that's a discussion for another time.
Yeah. But it's just something what you can't explain, and I suppose there's memories for you what you can't explain, that you go, oh, how can you put it into words? I can't put it into words because it's a feeling. There's no words to explain how you feel. You know, exhilarating is not enough. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then from there I actually worked with Karen Hardy for 2 years at her studio.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I was teaching
because she did a lot of pro-am as well.
She did, but it was before, it was after I left. Yeah. She opened the studio, I think in 2000. I left Dirty Dancing in 2009, and I joined her in the later part of 2009, around the October time. And I was there for a couple of years. And I enjoyed it because they had a lot of like galas where I could start to choreograph. And I started to understand people's abilities in other genres of dance when I was in Dirty Dancing, because don't forget, all of these people had come from all these West End theatres. They had been trained dancers, they were trained singers. So you start to pick up some of their discipline, you know, you start to teach them your world, and you know, you start to sort of like teach them, but you're like, oh my god, they can't do a rumba walk, what is wrong with them? But then you sort of like trying to do what they're doing, and you're like, oh my god, how do you not move your hip when you're doing all that, you know? And I just found it fascinating, and I really learned discipline when I was there, and hard work, and it just gave me a bit more motivation. And I think that's where the choreography and creative thing started for me in Dirty Dancing, because it gave me another aspect of dance, another aspect of performance, but I think it gave me another aspect of being creative, because we did some bits of our own choreography, and I was like, oh, I love this. Because some people hate choreography, some people just, I know a lot of people go, oh god, no, I don't want to touch choreography.
Some people are want to be told what to do.
Well, that's fine. That's
a bit more
fine.
natural and want to come up with something that's inside them.
So I just, and I think that was where that was born. But I do sort of like have a little bit of a regret. I do wish at the age of maybe about 15 I'd have finished a bit earlier, and I wish I'd have gone into stage school.
Really?
Yeah, because I think if I'd have got Dirty Dancing with just doing ballroom and Latin, and I'd have gone to stage school, what else could I? And I know it's a lot of coulda, shoulda, wouldas, but it's something I always think, oh, I wish I'd have, you know, gone down that route. That I mean, you know, I'm not saying the same thing, but like, you know, the Derek Hoff route, and you know, they all did the Itali Conti, and you know, and don't get me wrong, they're just insane at what they do, but it's like other doors could have opened, and I feel as though that was a sort of like a wasted opportunity. If I got into that, I could have got into other things as well. So I do think I'd like to have gone into that, but it's just something you live and learn, really. It's just something, you know, I'm happy that I got to do it. But yeah, then I taught at Karen's for 2 years, and it was very much teaching social dancing, and it was the what's the training, the Arthur Murray. So you tick off the booklets and stuff. So it was very much that, and at the time I quite enjoyed it, and you sort of like built up a clientele base, and I was one of the only male teachers, which was I mean, it was great because I was always busy, but at the same time you were constantly teaching all of the time. That may have put me off teaching, because you were teaching people slow, quick, slow. Some of them were a bit more of a higher standard, but it got more interesting.
It can be quite monotonous and tedious when you keep doing it all the time.
Yeah, so I think that really sort of put me off. But I think the fun bit for me is when we start to go into the galas, and Karen allowed me to start choreographing for group numbers, for the teacher stuff, which I loved. And I think that is when I really started to fall in love with choreography. and I think she saw something, Karen, in me, because I used to have lessons with Karen when I was competing, and I loved having lessons with Karen. She was always very good to me, and when I was at the school, she was always, you know, teaching for her.
She's a really, my experience of her, she's really a positive person.
Yeah, she is very positive. Even if she didn't feel it, she was always very positive. You know, don't get me wrong, everyone has their bad days, but you know, I enjoyed my time there, but I feel as though I was sort of like wasted in what I wanted to do. There was not enough of the galas. There was 2 a year, so that really didn't make me feel, oh, this is really inspiring. Yeah. So then I got picked up to do Dancing with the Stars in France.
I worked with Christophe and
Jackie.
Yeah. Jackie's an ex-dance partner of mine, of course.
Yes, I love Jackie. She's incredible.
Speaks fluent French now, I should think.
Oh, I think she does. The amount of time she's been there.
Yeah. They live there, don't they?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen them or spoken to them since I finished that show. Right. So I'm not 100% sure.
So they got together when I was. So they became boyfriend and girlfriend when I was dancing with Jackie.
Yes, and then they went on to the salsa scene, didn't they?
Yeah, then we split. Then they danced together for a little while. Then they disappeared.
That's right.
From the ballroom and Latin stuff, and then appeared on doing other things.
That's right.
Yeah.
So then they did that, and then they gave me that opportunity. I love working with Jackie, very easygoing, very down to earth. And then I did that for a year, and then one of the main guys on that show, one of the dancers, Maxim Deramis.
Oh yeah, Maxim.
He asked me about a couple of months after we finished the second season I started on it, would I like to do the troupe with them. They were doing like this troupe going around France. Would I like to be one of the dancers? Oh yeah, cool, because I had no agent. I was like, okay, great, I've got no work at the moment, so yeah, why not? So I started to do that, and then I think Chris and Jackie found out, and they weren't too happy with me doing it, because it was sort of like, how can I then go back to be sort of like in charge of the pro numbers with Jackie if I was a dancer on his show, blah blah blah. Anyway, just to cut a long story short, that didn't work, and they said, we don't think we can continue working with you going forward. So I was like, okay, great. Well, then within about 2 months, I then got picked up to do Dancing with the Stars in Lebanon.
So how did this happen then? So for instance, how did Jackie and Christophe get? Were you just in contact with them generally, and then they said, oh, we're doing this show, and then do you want to come and do some choreography? How did they know about it?
Well, they actually came to see the show. Dirty Dancing.
Oh, okay.
They actually came to see the show in 2000, I think the year I left.
Right, okay.
And I'd been in contact saying, oh, I'd like to do something, you know, like at the time, and they'd like to do something, we don't know what it is, and we'll do some projects. And then I think that's how they got in touch with me. They said, oh, I'd really like you to do this, and that's where I left Karen's.
I see.
And then I think I did what did I do? I think I did a performance, and I think it was, I don't know what it was. It was like a gig for Darren and Lilia, but they got a lot of dancers.
Right.
And I think I danced with Crystal, and then I did one gig with them, and I hadn't seen them for ages. And then literally after I finished with Chris and Jackie, Darren contacted me and said, oh, would you be interested in doing Dancing with the Stars in Beirut? And I was like, Beirut? I said, are you kidding? He's like, no, we've got... And I was like, oh my God. And I said to Mum and Dad, I said, well, I've got a chance to go and choreograph to go over and choreograph for Dance with the Stars. Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Where is it? Beirut. Oh my God. And I was a bit like, I'm gonna get bombed.
Yeah.
But
I don't think it's quite like that anymore.
No, as you know, as we always obviously see from the TV, it looks like it has been a war-torn country, and it has gone through so many changes. But I was very, very worried about what that would what it meant and anything. So everything was going. I was like, okay, do you know what? I'm going to do it. I have to tell you now, Beirut is probably one of the most incredible countries Lebanon, one of the most incredible countries I've ever been to in my life.
Really?
The nightlife is incredible, the food, the people, just amazing, and I thoroughly enjoyed every single season I did there. Yeah, I can't have good things about that that at all, and that was just an incredible experience.
Is it still going, Dancing with the Stars out there?
It's not. No, it stopped in 2019 after all of the issues over there with money and everything. So,
didn't Martin Rycroft?
He did. I worked with him. Yes,
out there as well.
He did. He did it on the last year I worked on it. Yeah, he did.
Because we bumped into him on holiday in Dubai.
No way. Yeah, because he was living out there.
Yeah. Yeah, we went on holiday to Dubai, and there he was.
No way. It's such a small world.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so I did that, and then that finished, and then Lilia the Ireland started, and Lilia had just got Ireland, but I was still in Beirut at the time, so I think she had an assistant there, and then the following year they asked me if I wanted to, because Beirut didn't happen. So then I did Ireland, and that was an amazing experience to do all these projects and other projects which has happened since. And I did my show which sold out in Ireland, the Blonde Bombshell.
So that was your own show?
Yeah, so I came up with the concept of doing a show, all dance, about the life and times of Marilyn Monroe, which I'd always been a massive fan of ever since I was young. And my dad introduced me to her when I was one day, said, "Oh, watch this film." I was like, "Oh God, another one of these black and white films." Like, what? Thought it was another cowboy and Indians film.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was about her. It was something very intriguing when I first saw her. And I got all the biographies, and I was so intrigued because her life was very, how would you say it, very skeptical. You don't really know what happened. You don't really know the circumstances of what she went through. And in those times that we spoke earlier, there was no social media, so we didn't know what she was going through. And but I just always adored what she did, and just the most beautiful woman. I just adored her. So I decided, when I was actually working on Dancing with the Stars a few years ago, actually it was the end of last season, I wanted to do a show mixing different dance styles and incorporating obviously ballroom and Latin, and do a show about Marilyn Monroe, because there was that TV show Smash, which I loved, about her, which was sort of like a buy-up of a Broadway show, and it was a drama which was brilliant. And then I was like, right, I want to do this show. So I said to my agent, they said, "Who have you told?" I went, "No one." And they saw the pitch and they were like, "Don't tell anyone yet." And I was like, "Oh God."
Yeah.
They said it's really good. Anyway, I told my friend Ryan Andrews, who's an actor over there, who also was a celebrity on the show in Ireland.
Okay.
And he's in a TV soap called Fair City over there, which is a bit like sort of the equivalent of like EastEnders or something here.
Right.
And he's now wife Michaela, she owns a dance studio, and he sometimes teaches there in performing arts. So he was like, "Ian, this is incredible." And I told him, I wondered whether you liked it or not, and he was like, "This is incredible, let me speak around to a couple of producers," because I thought, as long as someone knows about it. And I didn't really know a lot of producers in Ireland. I'd worked a few times, but not in theatre. And then he eventually got involved, a producer who wasn't involved in dance. He was a sports agent.
Right.
And he loved the project. He wanted to fund the project, and that's how it happened.
Wow.
And literally from the March of 2022, I had the pitch, and then it sold out in the November of 2022.
Wow.
And it sold out, and it held, I think it held about the same as the order, which was about 1,200. And it was incredible. My parents came over, my auntie and uncle came over.
Was it a one night only show?
It was a one night only show, yeah. And it was just an incredible experience. And at the moment, I'm now pitching it over in the UK.
Right, okay.
To come here. Now I know the apparently the Broadway show of Smash, which was a TV show over in America, is apparently coming over, which is the story of Marilyn, but in a dramatized way, is coming over to Broadway. So I want to keep it very much in terms of dance, as in a Matthew Bourne style, rather than using a song coming out every 10 seconds. I want to use it more as like a dance show, rather than a musical. So that's what I'm doing currently. And another project I'm working on, which I've been working on for years and years and years, which I worked on, which she was like my she was like my second person who was working on it, Kerry, who unfortunately died in June. I mean, that was a I mean, no words. No. So that was something that's made me even more positive and more thinking, right, this is going to be happening and this is going to be done. And I'm working with someone I can't say in America, who is well known in America and has been in a big TV show, what was a massive hit in the 2000s over there. So he's working on it with script writers at the moment, and it's a TV drama. No. No, you can keep guessing, but no. Yeah, so that's really exciting. So I've got a lot of things to look forward to, and another picture I'm working on. So I'm always trying to find new projects and to try creativity, to really trying to drive my creativity. And like I said, my agents are just amazing with everything, and they just, you know, had my back, and they've just been great. So I can't really ask. And I'm engaged now. I have an incredible guy. Yes,
that's right. I remember you.
Yeah. So been together for 5 years. So hopefully we're getting married next year. Cool. And Gemma keeps saying, when are you doing it? I was like, oh my god, Gemma, are you still on about it?
Is Gemma going to be your best
my best one, yeah, because I was actually a man of honour.
Yes, I noticed that.
So I think I can only return the favour, and she can be my lady of honour, or woman of honour, whichever she'd like.
So how did you meet James?
That was an exclusive.
How did that happen? Is James a dancer?
Oh, he's not. No. He's a tennis coach.
Oh, okay.
Well, he came from the world of advertising. Then he went into, he's also a DJ. He's a man of many talents. He's also a DJ, but he always loved tennis. I always love, I know this is my second love. I adore tennis. And we actually met on an app called Chappie, which is actually not there no more. And it was an actual really good dating website where it was very much, oh, how are you? Yeah, that would be great. What are you into? Do you know what I mean? What interests you? Like, it was very much about the person and meeting up rather than just, okay, let's have a one night stand. Yeah, brilliant, amazing. So we met on that, literally, and it was as though I knew him. It was as though it was, you know, aligned, and, you know, I don't ever have to think when I'm with him or I'm away from him. I don't ever have to think about anything. I don't ever have to worry about anything. I mean, it just feels so natural, and that's why, you know, it's just so right. But yeah, we're been together for 5 years now. So he's a tennis coach, and I've always loved tennis from a young age, watching Wimbledon when I was like, you know, knee high to a grasshopper, and I just always loved watching Wimbledon at home. And it was great that we have that in common. He doesn't like stuff like West End and stuff. He doesn't like no. So when Strictly or anything comes on, he's very much like, oh great. And I was like, oh, come on in. I was like, could you do that? And he was like, maybe I could. But I mean, he, you know, he really supports everything I do. He's incredible.
Have you ever seen you perform?
He's not seen me perform as in dance-wise, but he was at the Blonde Bombshell, and he's so proud of everything I've done, and he comes to Dance with the Stars to watch.
Was he in Ireland? Were you in the Blonde Bombshell, or you just?
No,
you weren't
I
in
created it and choreographed it.
Okay.
And then Ryan, who I spoke about, he directed it and produced it along with Dave, who produced it as well. So yeah, I think my dancing days are sort of like gone.
Think so?
Dancing days I still perform, but not as in to a theatre level. I want to keep the other side of the camera and the other side of it, and tell people what to, oh no, that way, that, rather than going, oh god, you want me to go that way now. But so what was I talking about? Oh, tennis. So he's now a tennis coach, and he self-employed, he teaches, and he loves it, absolutely loves it. We've been to Wimbledon a few times, and I just follow tennis like I follow, and when I actually have coach and I go to his class on a Tuesday, and the feeling again going onto a court and playing tennis,
great.
Oh my god, it's amazing. I just love it, and I love watching tennis as well. I'm an avid fan of tennis.
Djokovic your favourite?
I adore him.
Yeah.
I never used to like Djokovic. I never used to like him. About, I don't know, when he was like the early 10s, I was like, oh God, Djokovic. I was a bit like a Murray or Federer. And then I really started to love Djokovic, his mental toughness, he was never everyone's favourite. It was always Nadal and Federer as always, oh my God, they're so amazing. And I was just, oh, they're really, really good. And I love Federer, I love Nadal. But there's something about Djokovic. He was always the underdog. But now he's just proved everyone wrong, and he's just that.
Well, his mental toughness is
mental toughness is
really been
I've
on show,
never seen anything like it
in the last couple of years, isn't it?
I've absolutely. I mean, I've never seen anything like it, and you know, it's just that the strength of knowing what you want to do with yourself and not allowing anyone else to tell you what you need to do for your own good. Then for me, he is just. I just love Djokovic. I love his power, his strength, his ability to understand what it means to be a champion. So yeah, I love Djokovic, and I like watching the women's tennis actually as well. Yeah. I've got a few favourites there. One of my favourites, well, Kerber's my favourite, Angelique Kerber. I love her, and I also like Sabalenka. She's incredible as well. She's just turned #1 in the world. So just I love tennis, and that's
really
sort of like something you never.
Not really, no. No. I do remember watching Tim Henman and Goran Ivanisevic.
Oh my God,
was that in the semi-final or the final? That was the semi-final, wasn't it?
Semi-final, because
when he was 3 up.
Tim Henman never got to the final.
Yeah, I know.
That was the semi.
Was he 2 sets up? He was 2 sets up, and he won all of them to love or something, and then rain stopped play or something, and then the next day he lost 3 sets,
and then Ivanisevic come and serves and like. However, funny enough, he now trains. He's the coach of Djokovic.
Really?
Ivanisevic is Djokovic's coach.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I've always loved watching tennis. So I think that's something. That's my escapism.
Okay.
If whatever mood I'm in, I like to batter a ball across the net. Yeah. And just get it a bit.
Exercises some demons, gets rid of that.
It gets rid of that negative energy, and just I love it. It's one of my go-to things to watch and to do.
I don't really have anything like that.
Oh, do you not?
No, I don't really have any time.
What about music? Do you like music?
Yeah, I do like. I do like music. One of the things I suppose not a guilty pleasure, but I just listen to loads of Joe Rogan.
Okay.
Podcast.
Yes.
And that was one of the
podcast,
it was one of the reasons why I'm doing what we're doing now. Actually, I was kind of inspired to do this. Other than that, no, I don't really do anything. I just teach, and then I go home and maybe play the odd computer game. But I want to do more family stuff. I want to try and do less dancing, physical work, and more stuff like this, more creative things. Actually, funnily enough, I feel more creative in this environment about dancing than I do actually with dancing.
Well, I think it's because you're in control of it, in terms of you're knowing where the camera, you knowing what to do, and I think that's the good thing about being creative. You're sort of in control about how you want it to go. So I think that is something else what I like about being creative, and I'm sort of like I'm quite a perfectionist in terms of in detail stuff. Oh, I quite like that. Oh, one day I'll look at it and go, I like it, and then I'll go, actually maybe it might be better. And I'm not like afraid to go, actually I was wrong. That was better like that. So but I think that's probably why you do like this. It's because you like to be, and it's not like a control freak thing. It's something because you enjoy doing it, so you want to be involved the most in it.
But it's also something that I would want to watch, or something I'd want to be involved. I'd want to consume. And in our industry, in our business, this doesn't happen. No one's doing this. No one's doing it at all.
Well, I don't know whether it's the fact that whether they don't want to do it, or they don't want to explore that side of it, because they might not like to hear what comes back the other side.
Quite right, perhaps. I've had a few people turn this down. So I've asked them to do it, and they said, no, I can't do it. They don't want to be they don't want to say the wrong thing or come across the wrong way, because this is unedited. Because it starts and it finishes. There's no editing. I
I sort of see where they are coming from, because there is a lot of people, not just in the dance industry, but there are a lot of people who don't want to speak about things.
Well, they don't want to tell the truth because, of course, they might upset someone, and they don't like upsetting people because they feel that they can be vilified for it.
Yeah.
But personally, and I think you have the same opinion, you've got to stand in your truth, and you've got to be true to yourself all the time, and you can't be someone you're not.
Well, this is the thing. You can't, and I think sometimes when you are true about how you feel, but it's not about how you feel, because that's the misconcept. It's not about a feeling, it's about, you know, what your truth is and what the truth actually is. You know, you can't go around saying things like, oh, you know, I think because I feel like this. Well, okay, but what are the facts?
Yeah.
What are the facts in that? You know, and it's not about demoralizing people. It's not about slagging people off. It's not about being horrible about people, about making people feel horrible. It's just having an opinion of what you believe is true. And you know, it's just something what, you know, it's not happening at the moment. So you know, I can see why people aren't doing it. But
I mean, there are lots of contentious issues about at the moment, aren't there? Of course, in all sorts of in all walks of life. But in just purely in dancing, some people don't want to talk about it, don't want to come in and talk, because they feel that then if they say something wrong, they'll lose all their work. Because then people will think, oh, I don't want to go to them because they have this opinion on dancing, or they think this part of the aspect of dancing is corrupt. And that's nonsense.
Well,
really,
it is nonsense
because you'd get more respect if you tell the truth.
Well, you sort of would.
Opinion.
Well, you sort of would, but I see the reason I've done it is because I'm not in that industry anymore. So to be honest, although I will highly praise a lot of the people in it, I will also tell you what happened with me.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't want to sound like a Meghan Markle, this is my truth, but at the same time, you know,
bless her
heart, yeah, bless her heart.
Socks.
But
she's so persecuted.
She's very persecuted.
Yeah, just leave her alone.
Leave her alone. Leave her alone and allow her to be in peace with Harry.
Yeah. Leave her
in
alone.
their Montecito mansion.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
I think just leave them alone and let them get on with their life in private, which they want.
Of course.
And which they do.
Absolutely.
So so I just feel as though that's the reason why people won't want to speak in the ballroom and Latin industry, is because if I was still in that and I was still competing, I would feel that I wouldn't get people mark me, or I wouldn't get people go, oh my god, I can't believe he said that, even though they probably know what I say is their truth as well. Yeah. Because the majority of it is like that. I don't know, I just think the hard thing of it is there's so much politics in everything. You know, what we do and what we think. And a lot of what we think now is wrong.
Well, the only problem with that, of course, is if you verbalise what you're thinking.
Yes, of course, there is that.
But you're right. I mean, I know what you're saying, because we think, hang on, that can't be right. Well, this has to be right, but you can't say that.
No, you can't,
because you for fear of upsetting someone and being vilified and denounced on social media.
But also, it's not the fact that you want to upset someone. This is where I think the misconception
I'm not suggesting you're trying to do it intentionally.
No, exactly. But this is the thing. I think it's a fine line between you're not going, oh my god, this is disgusting. It's just something what is a fact. You know, so you know, it's something what I don't like to be honest to talk about a lot. In terms of because every industry has an industry, but I appreciate everyone's opinion. Put it that way. I appreciate everyone's opinion. I appreciate people what they believe in. I don't want to say just because someone disagrees with me doesn't mean to say that, well, I don't like you because you disagree with me. That's not what anything's about. It's called a debate. Yeah. And a lot of people don't have a debate, which is why a lot of people go, well, you're shut down for saying something, or you're this. I feel as though no one should be shut down, even if you don't agree with it. No one should be shut down, but it's when people are nasty, I think it's wrong. You shouldn't be nasty about people, but it's when people are saying something and people go, well, you can't say that.
You can.
Well, you can say it because someone else can say something else.
Yeah.
You know, it worked both ways. But I don't think anyone should be shut down. That's how I see it.
Well, we should all have the freedom of speech, shouldn't we? To be able to say what we like.
Absolutely.
There's an old saying, isn't there? Sticks and stones.
Yeah.
May break my bones. So what happened to that? What happened to the sticks and the stones?
Well, I don't know, but I remember when I was young that words never used to hurt me. No. And I remember that also when I was younger, when I used to get name calling because I used to dance, and you know.
I did too.
Yeah, but this is what I mean.
Me.
It didn't bother me then. I don't know what it is.
I never went home crying.
No, I never. And I never went and cried into my pillow and thought, I'll tell you why I think it is. And I think I have it. And I don't think it's because I had an older brother who'd probably beat them up. No, I'm joking. I don't think
I did too, actually.
I don't think it was that. Yeah, I don't think it was that. I think it was because I always had a goal in life. I always had a passion, which was dance, which mattered more to me than anything in the world.
Yeah, quite right.
And when I left, and when I used to come home, my focus wasn't as about, I feel so down, I feel so vilified, I feel as though I can't continue. No, I used to go home and think, what am I going to be doing in practice tonight? How can I get over this? What am I going to be doing when I'm in the back seat of that car going to Ipswich to practice of a Wednesday night and a Friday night? What am I going to be thinking of? My mind. Now, I was lucky enough to have something. What I do think is now is a lot of children now, and I do feel sorry for what's happened over the last few years. I feel awfully sorry for what's happened. A lot of these children don't have things that they can turn to. The only thing they turn to is that.
Yeah.
Or what's the latest trend?
And then they're being completely and utterly indoctrinated with nonsense.
Well, they're being endorsed by adverts and everything about the latest dance phrase. Oh, let's see if you can do this. Well, that's great. That's a bit of fun. But how about going to do something with your life? How about you doing something with your life and having? And I think that is a key thing. And I think it's a key thing for a lot of people your age and my age. Yes, there was name calling, and then I sort of didn't think about it. It's sort of like, I might have felt, oh God, why are they doing this? And I thought, oh well, I'm actually having a great life because while you're going out and getting wrecked every Friday night when you're underage, I'm actually going to actually rehearsal something I love. Yeah, you're doing something with a purpose. And I'm actually getting accolades for. Yeah. So actually, win-win for me. Yeah. So yes, I don't know what's gone on with that side of it where people, and it is social media. It's social media. So glad I never had social media. We didn't, did we? We didn't, and I remember
there's so many benefits to it, but there's so many negative aspects to it as well.
There's a lot of benefits, and the benefits are that you can communicate with people in terms of business, and you can really get businesses up and running, and really, get into the industry that way and work in connections.
Expose who you are, what you're doing.
Absolutely, sort of but there are a lot of negatives, and it's a very dark. It can be a very dark world, and unfortunately, that is something what a lot of people unfortunately go through. And I think that is one of the reasons why I didn't go to the dark world when I was younger, is because I didn't have that to look at when I used to get home. And that I'm grateful for. And I think also having very solid parents who are there for you. And again, you can call it lucky, you can call it, oh well, you had two parents, but I was lucky that I had two parents who loved what I did, who appreciated and encouraged me to do. They didn't say you have to do this. God, I remember my dad's car not working one day and I screamed the house down because I wanted to go to practice. I lived and breathed dance. I wanted it so bad. But that took my mind away from any name calling I used to get, because it didn't matter to me. What mattered to me was my dancing, which people don't have now. No. People don't have that.
Or if they do have something, they have it for 5 minutes, then go on something else.
Well, then they look at their phone and go, oh, I want to do that dance craze on TikTok.
Yeah.
Great, well that's great, but try and do something a bit more purposeful with your life, and try and understand that there are other things to do. I mean, we're all guilty of it. I'm guilty of looking at my phone when I'm walking, and then all of a sudden I see there's about 3 people in front of me, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And then I put my phone in my pocket. God, Ian, you're awful, you can't be doing this. And I really hate when people are on their phone when you're at a cash point, paying for something, or someone's on the phone and they're like, yeah, and they're paying with goods and they're just not even, I
paying any
cannot
attention.
stand that.
Yeah. Well,
That's
people are
something
addicted. Unfortunately, it's
Yeah,
addiction.
people are-
They're completely addicted.
Yeah.
Completely addicted
And
to it.
it's something which I'm grateful for. I'm grateful I had dance, and there's been a lot of benefits to have that ability of dance and the joy and art of dance form, which I'm so happy to have. And you must be happy to have.
I'm very much so. Yeah, I mean, I'm very happy with how my life's turned out. I'm still working on doing different things, but I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't had it. And actually, it gave me an inner strength. Dancing strengthened me up, made me the man I am today, for the experiences I've had and the adversity I had to overcome and that sort of thing. And then there's so many social aspects to it as well, because you have to put yourself into so many different situations, so many social situations, and then that you grow as a person because of that. I've travelled the world. I've been so lucky, and
I think that's important.
It gives you so much.
I think that's important what you said about the social side of it, because I remember when I was competing, I was actually quite shy. I wasn't actually. I don't know whether you remember. I used to talk to a few people, but I wasn't really like. I don't know. I wasn't one of the in people who were always like at part. Do you know what I mean? I never used to go to. I was quite quiet.
You were introverted, weren't you?
Yeah, I was quite introverted, and I didn't really express myself. Even on the floor, I didn't. I was a bit not embarrassed, but I was still a bit. But I think being on stage completely turned that around for me, and I think from there I'd learned my confidence. And I don't know whether it was the constant knock of not getting what I felt as though was the results, but I think that belief gave me that confidence of doing something for myself.
Do you think it just took you that much time to perhaps mature into who you were, to accept who you were and that sort of thing?
I think maybe, yeah. I think maybe it was probably something where I was a bit, you know. I mean, to be honest, I had girlfriends up to the age I was 20. I mean,
Right, I'm gonna say actually, when did you come out? When was it? When was you?
Not till my early 20s.
Right, okay.
I don't think I came out till after I finished competing.
Really?
Yeah.
And yet the thing is, though, all of us kind of knew anyway. If that makes sense.
Yeah. But I think, and obviously they always say, "Oh, your mum always knows" and stuff. And yeah, they probably did know. But I don't think it was something where I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so ashamed." But it was just that I didn't actually know. Because I'd had girlfriends, I knew that I was attracted to guys, but I was actually still attracted to girls.
Right.
And I had relationships with girls, so I wasn't really at that point going, okay, I'm out, because I didn't. Do you know what I mean? I didn't really have that experience of having a relationship with a guy. So I sort of like, until I sort of like left and had that world of being introduced into that world of the gay world, as you call it, I hadn't been around it, so I didn't really know what it was sort of like about. So I suppose that sort of maybe give me a little bit of my confidence wasn't up to scratch when I was in the ballroom and Latin competitive world.
Do you think that maybe that if you'd carried on, let's say you'd had a bit of funding and a bit of money, you got really successful in dance, you got with a girl that you perhaps were dating or something like that, do you think then perhaps you could have ended up being with that woman? Do you think you could have been one of those dancers that ends up marrying their dance partner and lives a lie, so to speak?
Deciding that they
it kind of lives a lie the rest of their life, because we've got not lives a lie as such, but does things that aren't true to themselves. Do you think going on the stage gave you that freedom?
I think it gave me freedom, but also confidence.
Right, to be who you are.
To be who I am.
Yeah.
And I think the West End was a lot more open.
Right.
In terms of if you were straight or gay, and I think you saw that straight people didn't really care whether people were gay. This is what I mean. They didn't really care whether people were straight or gay. It didn't really matter, and Do you know what I mean? So you didn't really have that, and not saying that people in the ballroom and Latin industry did, but I just found it very different, and I thought because of the level of confidence I had, it was easier to sort of like. And I remember the first day of auditions, one of the girls was like, "Oh, so do you have a boyfriend?" But she didn't even say to me, "Oh, are you gay?"
Yeah.
It was just a natural thing of, "Have you got a boyfriend?" And I'd never said nothing.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, I'm sort of dating someone," but it was weird. You know, you just didn't.
How did you feel about that then? Did that make you feel? Did he make you question yourself a little bit? Were you dating a girl at the time?
No. I was dating a guy.
You were dating a guy.
Yeah, but it was fine because I sort of like had a bit more of a confidence.
Right.
And I sort of like gelled with a lot of the people. It was a bit more free, and I don't know. I felt more of myself there. I suppose the ballroom and Latin industry just suffocated me a bit.
Right.
And that's not the industry's fault. That's just how I felt unconfident in that aspect, and I was still going through the stage of, am I straight, am I gay? I didn't really know. So I don't know whether I would go down that aspect of marrying someone, because I always had that feeling that I was attracted to men.
Mostly men, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think you went?
But I would still look at them and go, "Oh God, she's fit."
Yeah.
But I didn't.
I could look at guys and say they're fit.
But that's what I mean. But there's a conception of, if you see two girls walking down the street holding hands, no one would even think about, if they're on a girl's, no one would even think about it.
Right.
If you had two straight guys walking down night on the town ready and they were holding hands, people would go, "Oh, well, they're gay."
Yeah, unless you're in Italy.
Well, unless you're in Italy, or unless you're in India, because they do that apparently.
Right. Okay.
But they're not gay. But do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's quite unusual, the world we live in, how it's conceived. But yeah, I just
It's quite late though, isn't it, to come out actually?
It is, but I see it, James, as I happen to be a guy who's gay. I don't see as gay identifies me.
Right.
I feel like being gay is unimportant. I just feel as though it's an unimportant thing for me to discuss. I don't go, "Oh yeah, I'm gay and I'm with someone." I'll just go, "I'm with James.
Yeah.
He's my partner." I don't go, "Oh well, I'm gay. Did you not know?"
Yeah.
I don't need to say that. It's just, that's how I see it. But that's how I see it.
But I don't say that. I'm exactly the same. I'm straight. I don't have.
But that's exactly, you don't say, "Oh, Ian, I'm straight and I've got a wife."
Yeah.
But I don't need to know that. You've got a wife. Okay, great.
It's true though. In some respects, it's the person. It becomes the person, doesn't it?
Yeah,
that's what they're about.
Exactly. But this is the thing about how we are together. How it needs to be. How it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's so unimportant. I feel it's so unimportant to understand what someone is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Someone can just say, but I wouldn't have had that back when I was younger, because things were a bit different and I wasn't as confident then. But now being a bit more confident.
Do you not think that the world has changed a bit though? It kind of, some people try and make it that it has to be important,
you have
don't
to,
they?
Yeah, you have to.
Not in a good way, I'm suggesting. So.
No.
So they make it that you have to be one or the other, or something not, and you have to identify as something now, don't you?
Yeah, but they can have that. I identify as a male who happens to be gay.
Yeah.
About as boring as you get. For me,
I've always thought you're pretty boring.
Yeah, well,
dull.
It's dull.
It's
Absolutely dull.
That's the trouble.
Absolutely. Good old Lowestoft. Good old Lowestoft. But it's just one of them things where you're just like, oh well, it is what it is, and move on with life. It doesn't make me as a person.
Yeah.
So look at that. Look, the sun's come out.
I know. It's
Can
brilliant.
you believe it?
We've done an hour and a half.
Have we?
Yeah, an hour and a half.
Jesus.
Yeah, and the sun's come out. Well, it's beautiful.
Well, that was
ultimately
incredible.
It's all about love, isn't it? Just about loving yourself and
being true to who you are.
Yeah, it is. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
It always has been, and it always should be.
It certainly should.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, James.
It's been emotional. It's been good.
It's been really good, and I have to say, not seeing someone for so long, well, probably 10 years ago, but before that, it's been so good, and it's felt as though I haven't actually not seen you for that long, which is really good.
Yeah.
And it will have to do it again sometime.
We will have to do a follow-up. When this is super famous.
Part 2, guys. Part 2's coming soon.
When this podcast is super famous, we'll have a revisit of everyone.
Oh my God, I can't believe how Ian was not famous back then. How was James not famous
I know,
back then?
unbelievable. They were so young and innocent, and now look at them.
They'll probably look at this and go, who the hell is that?
Who is this? Yeah.
But but thank you so much. I
Thanks,
really
mate.
enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, great.
Thank you.